Let's go. Good morning, viewers. Welcome to today's episode on Track, telling reality and creating knowledge. My name is Samuel Victoria Okamaka. I will be your host this morning. On our today's topic, we are having the role of ICT, that is Information Communication Technology, in modern research. And for proper understanding, we have experts from the field. Engineer Dr. NSO Nonum. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Barrister Zion M. Latson.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Diving into today's topic, Barrister, sir, what is modern research?
Modern research basically has to do with leveraging on technology.
Transform research process in various fields.
Okay, I think it's nice we understand what information and communication technology is, so that from there we'll see how it has transformed research in modern times. Information and communication technology refers to the technologies of communicating and managing information. Like I said, technologies. So it refers to both computer technology and telecommunication technology. All right. So when we say computer technology, we're talking about both the hardware, the software, and computer in this case, we're not just saying, we're not talking about just PC or your laptop or desktop. You see, computer is seen as any electronic device that is capable of receiving information or data, able to process such data, store results before giving output. All right. So from this definition, now you can see that the computer technology we're talking about includes both your smartphone, your microcomputers that will be in form of integrated circuits. It might even get to the extent of looking at calculator as a computer too. So that is the area of computer technology. So both the hardware, the software, and even the network of such computer. So all of them make up the computer technology we're talking about. All right. And so information technology encompasses both the computer technology and telecommunication technology. All right. And so if we want to give more light, you see that in the area of telecommunication technology, we know communication is when a message is sent from, when a message is transmitted from a sender to a receiver through a medium. And the communication is complete when the receiver gives feedback to the sender. I think that is what you see as communication. But the tele that is added to this communication now talks about is, which is part of the technologies in IT, is achieved electronically. So I will better put it as electronic telecommunication technology. And in that case, we're talking about the use of electronic devices to transmit information through a medium, which could be either cable, wireless, and all of that, to the receiver, so that information can move over a long distance, right? So think about it.
All right, sir. Thank you for that, sir. Like my lecturer will always say when I was in school, not having a laptop is not an excuse to research. That you can start with your phone. Thank you for that. Still to you, sir. What are some examples of ICT tools that researchers use to collect, analyze, and present data?
Okay. So like we said, ICT encompasses both computer and telecommunication technology. So the ICT tools now, we'll look at them in the area of the tools that we need before analysis and the tools that we need after analysis. Why am I pinpointing on analysis? You know, research simply means you have a problem you want to solve, you search, you search again, and that's where the name research, because you are searching and researching. And this searching is particularly done at the analysis stage. All right. So the ICT tools that we need before analysis include tools for data collection. Now it depends on the kind of research you want to conduct. Let's say you want to conduct research that has to do with survey. You know, ICT tool like a Google form is enough to get people's response. Okay. But there are other areas, other fields of research. For example, in the computing sciences, we want to monitor the performance of a network. There are a lot of network protocol analyzer that can trap or sniff packets of the network, and then we'll have a lot of data to analyze. Example is Wireshark. We have different other protocol analyzers that can be used for collection of data. Okay, so depending on the research, if it is survey, you can leverage on Google Form. And then if it is medical research, there are a lot of sensors that we use to monitor patients, either their heartbeat, their blood pressure, their temperature. Yes, ICT has actually solved this problem, because behavior of patients, for example, in the medical field, is really analog. You know, the real world is analog. Yes, but for us to be able to manipulate this data easily, we need to transfer it from analog form to digital form. And that's where sensors comes. That's where transducers come. Transducers are devices that are capable of transforming physical quantities into electrical signals. And once that happens, we do ADC, which is called analog to digital converter. We transform this analog signal into the digital form, and then the computer comes in. With the computer technology, we'll be able to manipulate this data. All right, so at the analysis stage, depending on the research tool, you can talk about if it is in the social sciences or a survey where you have maybe gotten your data, you've been able to present your data in such a way for social. As simple as, or as common as Microsoft Excel is, if you know the power of Microsoft Excel in data analysis, everybody would want to use it. All right. So now, apart from that, there are also some research that we do that may not be quantitative. It could be qualitative analysis, where we have qualitative data. For example, you could have historical records, tests, professional interviews, and you want to analyze this data to come up with a result, right? ICT has also provided tools for that, like NVivo, NVIVO. Yes, like atlas.it. .it is also part of the software that are available for data analysis. And of course, immediately after you have analyzed your data, you come up with results. And then this result or the research findings has to be communicated to people, and then for them to also collaborate. And in that case, a lot of ICT tools have helped. For example, you can talk, even the instant messaging that we use, you can be in the US and have a research output here. Communicating it will no longer be a problem, because internet technology have solved that problem. Okay. So then we also have some cloud servers that we use to store and manage data. Yes, like your Dropbox, your Google Drive. All of these are ICT tools that could be used to communicate research after analysis. I think that would be that for now.
Thank you for that, sir.
Yes.
How does ICT facilitate collaboration and acknowledging sharing among researchers globally?
Okay, thank you. One of the benefits of ICT is it gives the researcher open access. You have journals online that you can freely access. You also have e-libraries or digital libraries that you could access as well through the help of ICT. So it has given you an opportunity to access knowledge globally beyond your own immediate environment. So these are some of the benefits, and it also helps in the area of collaboration. You could be in Nigeria and collaborate with another researcher elsewhere, any part of the world, whether USA, UK, you could have that collaborative. And then it also gives you the opportunity to co-author a research work. You have a Google document that can also enable you to do that. So these are some of the benefits that it creates in terms of accessibility. And then it also helps you to share your knowledge with the outside world. Recently, you can see some of the social medias, bloggers, and we're talking about perhaps maybe other electronic social medias. They will give your research work wide coverage across the globe. These are some of the transformative nature of ICT with regards to accessibility. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Barrister, for that. To you, sir. What role does ICT play in enhancing accessibility and dissemination of research findings?
Accessibility.
Yes.
Okay. We have the internet, right? We have the telecommunication platforms, right? Like we said, when you talk about telecommunication, we're talking about communication over a long distance, okay? And so research are posted on platforms, academic platforms that makes it accessible. For example, on Google Scholar, we'll see the research and the findings. We have other platforms like ResearchGate and other platforms that are used to access research and research findings. Okay, so basically we use the ICT infrastructure to make sure that research findings are communicated globally and it will be easily accessed.
All right. That. And to you, Barrister.
Okay. Okay. We're locked in academic silos, meaning the researcher will make his finding, but it's likely to be within the area of his residence or jurisdiction. But ICT has given the researcher an opportunity to share his findings with the outside world. These are some of the benefits in terms of accessibility and sharing of research knowledge.
All right, Barrister. Thank you for that. To you, Doc, sir. How has ICT impacted the way researchers conduct literature review and stay updated with the latest development in their field?
You know, literature review of the research process. Okay. And without a good literature review, you will not be able to identify gaps, right? And then once the gaps are identified, then trying to fill the gap means solving the problem. Okay, so first, if you have a topic, you would want to know what other researchers have done. You start by assessing what others have published. Start by checking e-libraries, journals, all right, to be able to know what they have published. Now, it will be difficult if we don't have ICT to travel from place to place, going to access physical libraries. The cost will be extremely high. But these days, with ICT, we'll be able to have access to published work that we can read to find out the areas they have worked on, the areas that are left, and how does it relate to our work. It's still part of a way ICT have created softwares that enhances, test understanding. For example, if you have a work that you want to review, you want to know, what did these people work on? What was their result? Like I said, NVivo, a software, could be used for such test analysis. Also, other ICT tools can also transform text into image so that you can identify patterns, can identify themes, and be able to have come up with a conclusion of what these persons have done and how does it relate to my work, right? ICT tools like Canva can be used to convert text into imaging, and these images can be, critically looked at to identify patterns and themes to be able to know how they relate to your work. So literature review that used to be so cumbersome is now easier because of ICT, because you have access to a lot of publications and you have robust tools to be able to analyze such publication and know the area they have covered so that you can have a gap to fill.
All right, Doc. Thank you for that. So ICT have made research work much easier. To you guys, what's your view on literature review?
Okay. ICT has brought a game changer with regards to literature review with the introduction or integration of AI into learning, artificial intelligence. And then there are sites that you could click in or subscribe to, and you will get latest update with regards to publication. So as recent as the publication is made either yesterday or even today, some of these sites will alert you so that you can see, especially if it is in your area of research needs. So these are some of the advantages. By so doing, you will have the opportunity to identify the missing knowledge or the gaps in the research work. So that while you conduct your own research, you look at, okay, which area has not been covered and which area you need to also dwell more, because you are already building on the research findings of others. And ICT has brought them closer to you at your doorstep that you could read, you could assess. And even in terms of referencing, ICT has made it easier because you will need to have a good referencing to acknowledge these authors. So ICT has also made it easier for you as a researcher to have them at your doorstep and seamlessly. So with regards to literature review, ICT has done a lot compared to the manual pattern of literature review, where you, like he said, you travel, you see researchers traveling to far distant places, go to older universities that have big libraries. But now with ICT, with your little device, you can access libraries anywhere in the world so that you can conduct a seamless literature review.
All right, thank you for that. So yours is to just have your MB and other tools.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, viewers, for your question, observation, you can please place it on the comment section or send it through this WhatsApp number 0812-830-3702. I will take it again, 0812-830-3702. Thank you. To you, Doctor, how has ICT impacted the way researchers conduct? What are the challenges associated with the use of ICT in research, and how can it be addressed?
Yeah, the challenges of the use of ICT. Information and communication technology requires constant power. And as a matter of fact, we live in a country or in an area where we are not very sure that the power is constant. Okay, so one of them is infrastructural need, for example, constant power supply. And that has affected how ICT will have transformed research, because very many people are discouraged. And some, while you're doing something important, you see that the power is off, right? Again, ICT requires a good knowledge. You know, not many people have the technical know-how to use ICT. And so the challenge of learning this technology before applying it in research is a long road to follow. And very much, yes, it's a very great challenge. And then another very important one is finance. The ICT tools that we're talking about, they are quite expensive. Of course, you know what a laptop is sold for at the present exchange rate or at the present economy that we have in Nigeria. All right. And so quality tools, softwares that would have been used to swiftly do research work are quite expensive. And not to say less, data for research, which you use to access the internet, is not so cheap. So ICT has a lot of challenges. These are the challenges.
Okay, and how can it be addressed? Your own view on addressing it?
Okay, yes, like in the area of power supply, people are already shifting to renewable energy, you know, solar installation and other forms of green energy, so that at least they could be assured of constant power. Okay, and then it is necessary for government to look into this area. People who are into research. Research is very important to a nation, to an organization. The much you know, the much problem you have solved is corresponding to the amount of research you have done. And so government should either subsidize or give grants to people who are working in this area, because there is no meaningful research that can be done now without ICT. Gone are the days of analog research process. And so if we have to embrace ICT, it should be given serious attention.
All right, Doc. Thank you for that. Let's check on our viewers' questions, if we have any now. All right. As we wait for their questions, we continue. Barrister, how does ICT support the use of big data and analytic in research?
Okay. Before I go to that, let me also add to what he said. You know, one of the challenges is also information overload. The researcher is confronted with a situation whereby you go online and then you see thousands of information. Let me give this analogy. It's just like a woman going to a market on a market day with a specific budget. At the end of the day, because of what she sees in the market, she may end up exceeding her budget because there will be other eye-catching things. So the researcher sometimes is confronted with information overload. You see thousands of information. So, and keywords to limit your research. We also have plagiarism and ethical concerns. That is where I'm interested as a lawyer, because plagiarism is regarded as academic theft or academic sin in some cases. Sometimes the internet will supply with information without necessarily acknowledging the author. And some people will just take it hook, line, and sinker. And before you know, you run the risk of plagiarism because, for example, AI tools could generate an information that perhaps belong to someone, and you could just rely on it. Subsequently, it will raise issues of plagiarism. So this is how vulnerable. So to avoid that, the researcher must make sure that his citations are properly made. so that you acknowledge the work of other researchers. Because once you are unable to do that, you run the risk of being guilty of plagiarism. So if you are talking about supporting big data, it has to also do with data storage. ICT has the capacity to store a large quantum of data, and it gives you the opportunity to update these data. Unlike how you will handle it manually, ICT is with that opportunity for data storage of large quantum of data. So I think that is my take with regards to this. Thank you.
All right, Barrister. Thank you for that. To you, Doctor, how can ICT be used to enhance validity, reliability, and the productivity of research?
All right. Before I go into that, I think I also want to talk much about the area of big data. You see, the kind of research we're doing now and the kind of data that we collect these days is extremely large and complex. And so extremely large and complex data is what we really refer to as big data. You understand? So, you know, you want to do a research now and maybe you're getting your data from Facebook and all these social media sites. The rate at which your data storage will get filled up because the data will flow in very, very fast. Okay? And so when we talk about big data, we're talking about extremely large and complex data. Okay, so if you're also looking at how do we really classify data as a big data, what are some of the characteristics it could have for it to be a big data? We'll look at the various V's of big data. Okay, V is like the volume, which talks about the amount of data that flows in. Then we'll talk about the veracity. In the area of the veracity, we are looking at how correct are these data. You know, like you said, online, a lot of things come up. And that issue of veracity is the reason why you need to pre-process the data before you go into analysis. You see, because some data that you get while you want to, just like maybe, and they said Mr. John was is a male, and then the year he was born, you see 1801. You should know that that data is already wrong. All right, so you need to pre-process before you analyze. So that's the area of the veracity. We're also looking at the value. The value, you know, the large amount of data you have, the much reasonable information you can get. Okay, and then the velocity. The velocity has to do with the rate at which the data flows in and is being processed. Okay, so these are some of the qualities of big data. And, you know, the research we have these days, like research data coming from telecommunication, are complex. They have different formats. They have different variety. That is the last V in the series of V that I'm talking about. Complex with different structures and all in the same data storage or data warehouse. So that is that about big data and what it is how it is used now in the present day research. Okay, so coming back to the question you asked again, please.
How can ICT be used to enhance reliability and productivity of research findings?
Okay, reliability and reproducibility, right? Yes. Yes. You see, when we say that something is reliable, it means that this same research that is done here, if it is repeated elsewhere, it should give the same results. All right. And so they go hand in hand. How are we able to reproduce research that is done in a particular place? First of all, if I have done a research here in Nigeria, I have my research finding. ICT will help me to communicate this research finding to whoever that I want to reproduce the research in the place, in any location where the person is in the world. All right. And then the issue of communicating research finding by using different ICT tools, which could include Google storage platforms, which could include cloud computing services that everybody can access globally, is very crucial in communicating the research finding. But not just about the research finding. If you want to reproduce a research, you ensure that environment, the platform with which that research was done in the place where it was initially done is also replicated. All right. And that is why in cloud computing, there's what we call platform as a service. So cloud computing companies offers such platform as a service. Let's say, for example, somebody is into web development or research that has to do with that. All the platforms that such a person needs will be provided by such a company that the research was done, let's say in Africa, is on the same platform that same research is done by somebody in a different location. You have used here, that same software with this part of the world. So that's what we'll talk about: software as a service, platform as a service, and then infrastructure as a service is also part of the things ICT offer through cloud computing that could provide the necessary storage and databases that is needed to replicate research. To make sure that the research environment is kept unaltered. Okay. Yes, we can have a Docker. A Docker is a software that is used to ensure that the environment with which you conducted a particular research is also maintained in other location. Because what a Docker, that software, does is to create a container. That concept is called containerization. Yes. Our friends in logistics and supply chain management may confuse it to be when you package goods very well for it to be shipped without problems. All right, to be shipped easily. But in this case, we are looking at when you package a software in such a way that it is standardized. All right, and it will help to replicate a research that is done in a particular place exactly the same way, so that the results will not differ. All right, and if nobody will have doubt about the reliability. Thank you very much.
All right, Doc. Thank you for that. Let's take our questions now. Wow, we have a lot to answer.
Wow.
With the areas of information on the internet, do you think that this can cause a problem? And if yes, how do we solve it?
With what?
With the areas of information on the internet, do you think that this can cause a problem? And if yes, how do we solve it?
Yes, like when Barrister was talking, the information on the internet, this is information age, and we have enormous information on the internet. Some of them are not even correct. Yes, and people swallow them hook, line, and sinker. It means to be wrongly informed. The statement that if you are not well informed, the person is already what? Deformed. Yes, so a lot of information on the internet has a lot of problems, and that is why it needs to be checked. Yes, there should be the Internet Engineering Task Force and other task force that will ensure that information is accurate, is timely, is reliable, and other quality of good information is maintained. Yes, too much information on the internet has a lot of challenges. like we have said. And again, it's a lot of distraction, especially to researchers. Imagine while you're conducting your research and while there, as you're flipping, one thing will just pop up and before you know, you are distracted already. All right. So information overload is actually a problem.
So there should not be only market task force, but internet task force. All right, sir.
In addition, the problem can also be there are softwares that validate some of these informations. You could subject some of this information to validation. And this software could dictate inconsistency. That points a red line that you need to avoid. And in addition, you must also have a sound knowledge, at least, of that field you are researching on. So that when you see a junk information, when you see an irrelevant information, you could be able to dictate. I know that this one will not fit in or it might not be useful for the research I'm carrying out. In fact, I have on several occasions been victim. There was a time I was conducting a research and I decided to Google the topic. At the end of the day, I ended up reading a lot of messages without really picking. Just before I finish reading the next one, I see another overwhelming sometimes, but the researcher needs to be alert to be able to avoid some of these informations that may not be necessary. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Another question. In a bid to become well-published researcher, how can ICT help researchers quote and co-author research papers? To you, Doctor.
Okay. Collaboration.
Yes.
Yes, it was difficult to see somebody who was working in your area before. That's why researchers were traveling around the world. Yes, and then, but these days, through conferences, all right, through webinars, you meet people in your area. And the academic associations, professional bodies will help in getting people in your area for quality collaboration. That handles that.
All right, Doc, thank you for that.
I think in addition, it gives the researcher visibility. Once a researcher is visible, other researchers could be interested in collaborating with him. Perhaps he has written or conducted a research in an area that a researcher in US or London is equally interested in. He could reach out to him. The internet will give the researcher an opportunity to be visible, and it will easily connect him with other scholars or other researchers for collaborative authorship.
All right, Barrister, thank you for that. Another question. We have a lot. So you have been talking about roles of ICT in research. What are some challenges and ways to solve it?
There are many challenges. I think he has identified some of them.
Big data?
Yes, he has identified infrastructure, the high cost of internet and other issues. But in addition to that, we have the problem of data security and privacy risks. And I think that is the area where Dr. Engineer Nanum comes in, cybersecurity. Sometimes the internet age will expose the researcher. His data is exposed. He becomes vulnerable. Sometimes even cyber attacks. Sometimes people could impersonate him. This is some of the challenges. So you will need experts like Dr. Nanu who are cybersecurity experts to be able to ensure that they protect your identity.
All right. So what's your take on this?
Yes, there will always be attack. But what is important is the counter-attack and the countermeasures so that to be able to solve such problems. Yes, identity theft and other cyber security issues will exist that will undermine, data security. Okay, yes, but an improved cyber security knowledge is key. Yes, creating awareness. You see, these fraudsters, they are not smarter than those who are ethical in the profession, right? So a good campaign, increased knowledge is a way of handling issues of data privacy.
All right, sir. Thank you for that. Another question. As a third world country, it is no longer news that research and development is the solution to our development. How can ICT prefer solution to our development deficiencies?
Yes, like you said, as a third world country, we need to focus on indigenous research. Yes, and ICT can help. You see, there are a lot of stimulation platforms that now exist. Sometimes we complain that, oh, we don't even have the material for this research. We don't even have a good lab for it. Some of these sophisticated laboratories exist in simulation softwares and platform where research can be carried out. All right. And then identifying our own problem that is imminent in our present environment and conducting research on them is the way to go. And then there are ICT tools that can handle that, like I said. All right, so we can leverage on them. Like in the area of electronics, we have simulation platforms like Electronic Workbench, like Pro Tools, Electronic Designer. In the area of medicine, there are a lot of medical imaging softwares that we can use to solve our own problem. There are some kind of sicknesses that are peculiar to those in Africa.
Yes.
We focus on them, like malaria, like you said. Yes, TSS, this tropical pneumometrical syndrome. A lot of problems that are peculiar to us. If we focus on them, we'll be able to come out from our problems.
All right, sir. Thank you for that. Another question. In a situation where we have issues like loss of data, maybe as a result of damage to a hard disk or a storage device, how will you go about solving these issues?
Prevention, they say, is better than cure. So instead of allowing yourself to fall into such a problem, it's better to do a preventive measure of backup. You see, gone are the days where you must buy one large hard disk in gigabyte, terabyte, or exabyte because you want to do backup. Infrastructure as a service, which is one of the things that cloud computing offers, have solved this problem. You see, with little amount of money, you can subscribe to one of these cloud computing companies, and they'll give you a very reasonable amount of data storage facility that you can do all your backups. The only thing that is required is that whenever you want to retrieve them, you connect online, you go to the internet and you retrieve your data. So, like I said, prevention is better than cure.
All right, prevention is better than cure. Okay, the last question. Please, can you talk more on qualitative and quantitative research as it relates to ICT in research?
ICT, I think that he will be in the better position because he's an ICT expert.
Okay, all right, barrister.
Particularly in the process of collection of these data, right? So, but ICT leverage on their tools, which I think is an expert. He will be in better position to explain that.
All right, thank you for that. So you're still on it.
Yes, we are on it. You see, qualitative and quantitative. The point is the kind of data you collect. You see, if you have a data like historical record, like I've given an example before, all right, you need to do content analysis. Okay, and then that means analyzing of the test. Okay, or you have collected conducted professional interviews. Some of these interviews, before you have to travel to where the person is. All right, but in these days now, you need ICT. You can interview somebody somewhere that has a network. You see, ICT also covers the internet and all of that we're talking about. Okay, now professional interviews, historical records, these are all types of data that you can get that will lead you into doing qualitative data analysis, so that you'll be able to come up with a result. What you're actually doing is when the data comes, you encode the data. After coding the data, what then do? You now analyze, you check correlations, you check patterns, you check themes, and you'll be able to come up with your research output. But in the area of quantitative data analysis, you make use of ICT tools. We've given an example. I talked about Microsoft Excel. I talked about SPSS. Okay. Yes. And there are a lot of statistical tools that are used. Before, if you want to calculate simple mean, median, and mode, you see yourself using paper and pen. But I think it's a waste of man hour to be doing that now. When in SPSS, you just go to, if you click a tab and you are there, you've gotten the frequency, you've gotten and all other analysis that you want to do.
All right, Doc. Thank you for that. As you answer, another question just popped up now. Is geoinformatics an integral component of ICT in research for environmental sustainability?
Yes, ICT encompasses all that has to do with computer technology and telecommunication technology. Geoinformatics is getting the information of, the environment, could be the weather, could be, talking about the climate, and it even transcends to the area of your global position, location, and all of that. All of these work with computer technology and telecommunication technology. So it is an integral part of ICT.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Barrister. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being in the studio with us. So what is your final word on modern ICT? Modern research, sorry.
Modern research cannot be achieved without ICT. So everybody should embrace ICT.
All right. To you, Barrister.
Okay. The role of ICT in modern research cannot be overemphasized. It's either you key in or you perished as a researcher.
So it's either you came or you perished. So thank you for coming. Thank you, sir. For joining this morning. See you.